Hey, how's everybody doing? Welcome back to Ass Hat Podcast here on YouTube. If y'all wondering, why is it called Ass Hat Podcast? Well, real simple. Back in 2013, I started. It was supposed to start in early August 2013. It got delayed 2 weeks because my father broke his leg and his foot. So I couldn't do what I needed to do at the time. It took about 2 weeks for it to get everything back to normal. I started off a podcast called Ass Hat Podcast. It was named that because I had a friend of mine. Matter of fact, she was my main co-host on there, on the podcast. I used to do videos, just video reviews like this, but it was me on camera. I hated the way they came out. And I'd hit my brain fire, I'd be like, ass hat. And she goes, that just cracks me every time you mess up. You're like, ass hat. She goes, I love that. I was like, well, ass hat. That sticks to your brain, ass hat. So we're like, okay, I'm going to call it Ass Hat Podcast. And everybody besides one person loved it. That's a great name. One person, don't tell me what the show's about. Like Mutantville Players tells me what your show's about there, Strebo. Well, the podcast lasted from August of 2013. The last episode came out May 2014. It ended because my two main people I had as co-hosts, girl I was just talking about, she was not working at the time. She was on, what they call it over in the UK, the dole, unemployment. She got a job. She's like, I just ain't gonna have time. Okay, cool, not a problem. I understand that. The other guy I was doing it with, he not very good with computers. Had no clue how to use Skype. So I was having to call his phone using Skype. So I was paying $30. Was it $30 for 3 months of Skype calling anywhere in the U.S. Call phones. I was doing that when he moved and didn't have a phone for a while. So I was like, well, fuck, I don't have a co-host. And I'd just gotten to where I was actually going out and doing shit for a while there. I stayed at home constantly. I had fear of crowds. And at the time, my girl was working 55 to 60 hours a week. So she didn't get much free time. So I didn't get to see her that much. Well, that changed. She held her foot down and worked like, look, I can't work this much. I got to have some free time. I started going out and doing more. I didn't have as much time because, the podcast would take anywhere from an hour and a half to 2.5 hours to record. And then editing and all that would take another couple of hours. I was putting in, about 5 hours per episode, 5 to 6 hours per episode, getting them prepped and putting them up there. Because, when I created it, I was like, okay, I want something where people, if they want to send an email, so I created the asshatpodcast@gmail.com Gmail account. Well, that means that I had a YouTube account too. Well, after the show ended a few years later, and you look on this Ass Hat channel, go back and look at the very first video, the very first public video, it's titled like Ass Hat Podcast Episode 1. I was going to do a video podcast with just myself at first. Well, I did a couple. I wasn't real happy when it came what it is now, and I just kept the name. It's a name. It's easy to remember. It kind of rolls off the tongue. Ass Hat Podcast. Ass Hat Podcast. That's why. And I figured naming it that would also clue people in. This is not for kids. I have a filthy fucking mouth. Ooh. And that's why, and I apologize. One guy recently messaged me. His kid watched the video, and his kid was going around saying fuck a lot afterwards. I'm like, I'm sorry. I cuss up a storm. I don't even realize that. I got a buddy of mine that he goes, you casually cuss. Like, he goes, it just blows my mind. He goes, we're talking, you'll drop the F-bomb like 5 times in 2 sentences. I'm like, yeah, I do. And I've always heard, it's a sign of low intelligence. No. I'm not bragging here, but last time I took an IQ test, I scored fairly decent on it. I scored 136? I was in advanced classes in school. I was in the gifted program. It's just this way, this is the way I talk. I cuss a lot, fuck, shit, damn, all those words, use them a lot. But what we got here, this is a comic book. This is Walt Disney's Showcase. Magica De Spell, the Saucy Sorceress. Magica is after the prize of all times, Uncle Scrooge, #1 dime. A collector's classic. Magica celebrated first appearance from Uncle Scrooge. 25 cents. Whitman. Now, a little history here on Whitman. Started off as Dell, and Dell had the rights to it feels like Dell had the rights to every TV show, every cartoon, every movie, everything that existed in that format, Dell had the rights to do comics on. And they were one of the few, there's no comic code on it because they didn't go through the comic code. They had a pledge to the parents. Excuse me. Ooh. And what happened was, eventually Dell became Gold Key / Whitman. And they had the biggest license was Disney. That's what they're best known for, the Uncle Scrooge, Carl Barks. Well, I was in a comic shop. They had a bin full of kids comics, so I'm always going to look. So those kind of stuff's in there. I found out, oh, I like Magica De Spell. I like the Carl Barks stuff, and it was $1. This is from 1975, and this is the Midas Touch. It's from Uncle Scrooge 36, as far as I can tell. Is the day of sorcery past? Do oddball characters in odd places still stew up mystic charms and magic hocus pocus? Uncle Scrooge didn't think so until he met a sorceress in the tale of a strange experiment. Now, Magica De Spell is one of those I don't remember seeing her ever in the comics, but DuckTales. That's what I discovered, and I love the character. And this is a comic I actually had to argue with somebody with, because my girl's a huge Disney fan. Huge, and she wanted this. And I'm like, no, that ain't going to happen. I know you love Disney, but look, this is Magica De Spell. This is mine. You can have every other Disney comic you find, but I want this one. And we argued over it for a little bit, and she finally, okay, yeah, you can keep it. So I ended up with this comic. And it's just like I said, it reprints the first appearance of Magica De Spell. And notice how I love this Uncle Scrooge comics from Barks. He always had a pile of panels. I mean, look, almost every one of these pages, 8 panels. 8 panels. A lot of storytelling. I mean, look at this one. This one you got 9. A lot of storytelling. Whereas you look at modern comics, hell, you'll get 2 or 3 big splash pages. You don't get as much storytelling. And this was weird for a kids comic. This is going to take me longer to read this than it's going to take for me to read a modern comic. I love these old embroidered patches. I want the Dennis the Menace. I want the Heckle and Jekyll and the just passing through the Daffy Duck. I want the Zap. The Felix. The Wile E. Coyote. The Popeye. The Flash Gordon. And we get, it's a fair, look at that, how many pages? That's a fairly long little story. Then we get a second one, the 10-Cent Valentine. That's from Walt Disney's Comics and Stories, 258. And it's another, I think there's another Magica De Spell. Yeah. I'm pretty sure, yes, man, another Magica De Spell. It's probably like her later appearance. And she's always after that #1 dime because she thinks it's lucky. And I love these. These are embroidered cloth patches. Got the entire top row I want. Well, the entire next row. This row, I wouldn't want Casper or Baby Huey or Wendy. I want, and see, I would have, as a kid, I would have ordered every one of these. And these kids, Roach designs are now available on Iron transfers. Look at that. Look, they got Keep On Track. Robert Crumb stuff in here. And then we got personality posters, which there's some neat stuff in this. It's just a cool little comic, and a cheap way for me to read some of this classic Carl Barks. I mean, this is probably one of those, I bet you. What issue numbers? I'm going to go look this up real quick. Issue 30, Walt Disney Showcase. Walt Disney Showcase, issue 30. I bet you, in another comic shop that don't care about their customers so much, there's all about the money, would charge a lot more than I paid for that one. So I'm going to go check my comic shop. Walt Disney Showcase. If they even have it in stock. Man, there's a lot of these. Herbie Rides Again, Old Yeller, Lieutenant Robinson Crusoe. Okay, and not even in that shape, a worse shape than that. You want $5.70. That's for a good, what was that, 2.5? And this is not the best shape, but this is a decent shaped comic. It's a cool little cover. That pink cover kind of stands out. And like I said, I love Carl Barks. DuckTales. As a kid, I loved Uncle Scrooge comics. And it was only Disney ones I really read. And the Junior Woodchucks and all that. And then I didn't realize it was all by one guy pretty much. But I got heavy into it. But you know what? I just saw my mails pass. I'm at the end of this anyway. So I'm going to get out of here. But I hope everybody enjoyed that. Remember, if you did, give me that thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe, all the other bullshit. Talk to everybody later. Bye-bye.